Patricia. I've known Dr. Patricia forever. We knew each other, I think, in campus. We used to visit each other in campus. We critiqued and, we were choosing who's going to be our husband, then you're dating, then you break up, we've come from very far. Then we watched ourselves get married, get engaged, so when I decided to be very, very intentional, there's something that then you're dating, then you break up, we've come from very far. Then we watched ourselves get married, get engaged, so when I decided to be, and you shall stick to this, there's something that because your role is to make sure I become the director. I was very comfortable and you're gonna deliver this very so we started the journey of the session, stick to this and everything. But as Sofina said, because your role is to make sure I become the director.
What have I done?
It's been a very beautiful journey. When I started my sessions with Breakthrough, I'd gone through a very turbulent season in my life. And I was at a point where I was confused and stuck. So I was trying to figure out, so what next? What next for Mary? You have the kids here, you have a thriving career. So what? I think I'm now a more intentional leader, even to my team members, and I'm already seeing the results even at work. I'm performing way, way above what I used to do before I started the Mastery Circle. First and foremost, of course, is to elevate fellow women. One thing that Dr. Patricia keeps on saying is that as you progress higher, please remember to also lift other sisters with you. So I commit, I'm already doing that in part. I have 2 colleagues of mine in the office whose hands I'm holding within my circle of.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Get Into the Top webinar. My name is Betty Ndunge. I'm the Executive Assistant and Commercial Lead at Breakthrough Leadership Transformation. And I'd like to welcome you all to this session today. It's 7 o'clock, and I'd like us to start at this point. Can just allow me to share my screen at this point. You can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much, Tabby. Welcome everyone to the Get Into the Top webinar. Thank you so much for making time to join us this day. And before we start, just a few polite requests. I'd like to kindly request us all to rename ourselves in the chat section. Rename yourself to your name and the country that you're representing. I believe we have people from all over Africa here today, and we'd love to celebrate with you. So just rename yourself and the country you're representing, and that would be wonderful. Also, we'd like to invite you to introduce yourselves on the chat section. You can just state your name, your current role, and where you work. So during this webinar, the microphones will be muted during the session, and we'd like to encourage us all to ensure that the comments that are put in the chat section will remain respectful and edifying as you continue with the webinar. So at this point, allow me to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening, who is Dr. Patricia Murugami. Dr. Patricia Murugami is a global speaker, an executive leadership educator, and a catalyst. She's on a mission to revolutionize leadership worldwide. She's the CEO and founder of Rise School, which is the first digital school in Africa. She's won a number of awards, and allow me to just mention but a few. The one being most recent is her being listed as one of the top 60 most transformative CEOs impacting the economy in Business Monthly East Africa 2023, and top 50 African most impactful female leaders award by ABCD and The Guardian in Nigeria. I believe she's the perfect speaker for us this day to lead us in this webinar on the pitfalls that we should avoid as we rise up the ladder. Dr. Patricia, karibu sana.
Good evening, everybody. Let me add my volume. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to see 122 and counting. We were so humbled to have over 500 registrations in 48 hours. So for us, it means that there's a hunger for this. And I'm wearing pink and pearls to honor all of you, my sisters. Pink stroke headed towards purple, you know, the colors of International Women's Day. And I had my whole tribe here helping me get ready and get to this point where I'll be sharing a couple of ideas with you. And so to start off, I want to welcome you for honoring yourself, for truly honoring yourself. I know that this is being shared also on YouTube. I'm going to thank Betty, Florence, Lynette, and the entire team behind the scenes who have made this possible. I want to encourage you to have your journal. You have your journal. I have my last year's journal, and I have my this year's journal. Because this is not just going to be a 1 hour where you look back and say, yeah, I had a 1 hour. Hopefully, you're going to learn a lot. Let me ask Betty. I think I can be able to share. Thank you so much. I'm seeing lots of comments already. Thank you. Please introduce yourselves. I can't wait to see all of you. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about some of the things that I'm going to be sharing in a moment. Getting to the top. Who doesn't want to get to the top? And the top could mean many things for all of us. I'm reminded in 2019, I left a plum job. I was well on my way to deanship. But there was a deep calling that had been agitating me deep inside for 48 months. And I knew that if I'm not honest with myself, honest with my employer, honest with my family, then by extension, there's no way I can be honest to my maker, to our Lord. And so I remember I had a conversation for a year with my boss. He was like, no, I don't think you should go. Let's make this work. I said, okay, let me pray, let me think. And then as time went on, I thought, no, the itch was so loud that I had to do something about it. And so as the itch got louder, I realized that it's time for me to actually take some action. I don't know how many of you are feeling an itch to be more, an itch to serve deeper, an itch to rise in spaces that you probably haven't tried to rise. I want to suggest that the first place you could try and rise is within your role. Within those 10 years, it was a lot of hard work. And I remember I outgrew my role and I would be asked to draw up my job description for the next role. But it wasn't easy. When you're drawing up a job description, it means you have to research, isn't it? After days, to actually ensure that the research is being done in a way that truly makes sense. So as I continued to research, I realized that now I had outgrown the role in totality. It coincided with finishing my doctorate, and 2019, I told my boss, you know what? I want to be honest. I've been honest throughout this time. You allowed me to run a consulting. I could hardly run it because I put my heart, mind, body, soul into raising this business from where I found it to where I left it. I'm still excited. Just this week, I saw on LinkedIn, one of the people who joined my team then is now a director. So I'm excited about that season. And so 2019, I left off and I said, you know what? It's time to ensure breakthrough leadership transformation could actually now start to serve people effectively. And I sat down, and part of the things that I told myself is I'm not going to replicate any program I did in my 10 years at SBS. I'm going to start from ground zero. Little did I know that would be a chapter in my book many years later. Allow yourself to be a beginner. Because sometimes the higher you go, the more you think that, I mean, I'm an expert, right? That is called intellectual arrogance. And so I tried very hard because of mentors, and I had my tribe. We'll talk about tribes in a moment. And I realized that it's important to be also very ethical. So I took pen and paper, and I realized people were calling me and saying, now you've left, you're now running your own consulting, breakthrough leadership transformation. What are you doing? I'm going to coach people, I'm going to develop leadership. And then I remember just reflecting and thinking, people kept telling me, why don't you design a program for senior women, women who are seasoned, who want more, who want to be purposeful, who want to be intentional, who want to be impactful. Yeah. So you could be earning dollar salaries. And you know, these days, the dollar is such a good currency to earn in, isn't it? But you could still be feeling empty. And they actually urged me. And as I spoke to them, I constantly realized that this is a need, this is a niche we could start with. So exactly 3 months after leaving that job, I launched the Breakthrough Mastery Circle. The other day, one of the alumni, 2019, gave me a call and said, do you remember the project we did? Dr. Pat, if you didn't follow your purpose, I wouldn't have found my purpose. And I think for each one of us dialing in today, watching from YouTube, I want to encourage you, don't procrastinate on taking one step towards your purpose, because other people's purposes are intricately connected with your purpose. And if you don't know how, ask me. I'll share with you a couple of tips today. So with that background, why I wanted to start like that is I had no idea what would happen. In 2020, COVID happened, corporate clients just froze, and we had to think about how to reinvent ourselves. In fact, someone deliberately called me and said, you're always teaching us about disruption. So how are you going to do it? Tongue in cheek. And I was like, hey, that's a bit of pressure, but I had to actually take my own lessons. So another question for you to put down, how many ways are you taking the advice and the lessons you dispense? Are you eating your own food, or are you just cooking it and dishing it out to others? And so with that in mind, I now want to share with you a couple of ideas about how getting to the top and the traps that can actually affect you when it comes to getting to the top. I admire Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, I admire her. And if you know the story of Rosa Parks, she's the one who did what? Homework, right? But one of the things I love about Rosa Parks is she was an introvert. So I'm calling out to all the introverts in this room. We notice you. Don't worry. If the extroverts are being loud and talking all the time, don't worry. You have a place. With her very clear mind, she spoke up about racial segregation in a bus. I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Many of us are fearful about this year, fearful about whatever it is that you're going through. All of us here have a challenge or at a crossroad or have a burden that no one else is seeing. I hope this evening you will get the perspective of being able to see how you can navigate the crossroads and the space you're in, and make sure you figure out how the traps, which I'm going to use as an acronym, will make a difference for you. 2023, which mountains did you climb? Huh? Which mountains did you climb? I can't wait to see in the chat. Which mountains did you climb? Which mountains did you climb last year? Last year. Just put down in the chat. It could be any kind of mountain, apart from the physical mountains. Thank you, Nat. Kilimanjaro, well done. But I actually mean the figurative. Thank you for starting us off. Thank you, because I wasn't that clear. Which mountains did you climb? I climbed a mountain of a big project. Yeah, first time in motherhood, ran a half marathon, KRA, and I know you don't mean key results area, transitioning from employment, completed CPA, public speaking. Well done. Keep writing. Which mountains did you climb? If you can take a step back and remember what you had to do to climb those mountains, you had to prepare, taking on a job, completing your MBA, finished building your house. Whoa. Started my writing journey, Kate. Well done. Switched to a new role and an MBA, ventured back into employment, published a 5th book. Whoa, resigning from a job that wasn't aligned, published a paper, moved to a new country. Whoa, I'm really honored. I'm in great company. Started constructing apartments. Well done. Published 3 books. That's our BMC, Pamela, all the way from Uganda. And so ask yourself, to climb those mountains, what preparation did you need to do? What kind of environment did your heart and mind have to be in? What kind of obstacles did you have to face and overcome? What laser view did you have to have, putting your blinkers on that one goal that was fundamental for 2023? I want to really, I know not everyone will write, but write in your journal also the mountains. And some mountains are not as visible as the ones you're putting down here. Many years ago, as we were in the process of trying to have children, we have 3 in heaven and 2 we are bringing up, my mountain was conquering that deep abyss of, what do you even call that, depression, yeah? Which is not quite postnatal, it's not prenatal. That was my mountain. And it was a battle I had to struggle with alone. My husband would try and speak to me. We had 1 child, and I would be told, be grateful, you at least have 1 child, but somehow I couldn't snap out of it. It took getting the therapist. It took getting a friend who had gone through this. It took reading about the fact that when all is said and done, you want our children to go to heaven. And if they just jumped over the fact that they didn't have to live in life, then maybe the goal has been achieved and maybe I need to see it from that light. But that said, it was still painful. So some of us are struggling with internal mountains. And I want to encourage you that that internal mountain, when you overcome it, first of all, as you overcome it, find whoever you need to navigate it. But when you overcome it, please stretch out your hand. Stretch out your hand backwards to actually help others who could be struggling in the same way. Internal mountains, I think, are larger than external mountains. So where we need to put our effort is in the tunnel space. How many of us feel like we're boxed up? When my daughter was young, she would sit in the laundry basket as I collect clothes, yeah? Because she could fit in it. But how many of us feel trapped in a box? Feeling like this life, I can't seem to really get out of it what I should. Feeling like I have more and I could do so much more. Thank you so much, Beverly. Thank you so much, Esther, for being so vulnerable. How many of us wonder whether this stress will ever end? You're thinking about your work, you're thinking about home, you're thinking about leadership. And for the women who are leading teams, leading by influence, every person is a heartache also, because you want them to grow, you want them to shine, and sometimes you just don't know what to do. Then you have clients, then you have stakeholders, then you have a board. You're kind of sandwiched in between. I want to tell you, I feel you, and I've been there. And this is part of the journey. But I also want you to think about some traps that could make us actually get more stuck. Catastrophizing, thinking you'll be fired for making a minor error. This happens especially first 90 days, or when your job is high stakes, it's a high stakes job. Personalization, feeling like your boss or board don't like you because they don't say hello in the hallway, or worse still, in the boardroom, they are constantly attacking your ideas. Discounting the positive, ignoring positive feedback on a project and only focusing on the negative. I was that person. I could only see the areas of improvement. And as a matter of fact, at that time then, because that's a trait of perfectionists, then I actually did not experience a lot of joy in the things that I was doing, which were amazing things. But all I could see is what they call the missing tile. That's the syndrome I had, the missing tile syndrome. That the only thing I was seeing is the thing that didn't work out. Watch out for that. Mind reading. One of the things I've learned, I come from a family of boys. I'm married to Morogami, and he told me within the first couple of weeks of getting married, I can't read your mind. And as women, we take that to the office. You think a colleague is angry with you because they didn't respond, because their tone is different. Don't take it personally. Don't personalize things. That's like allowing anger and doubt to actually live as a tenant, rent-free in your mind. Rent-free in your mind. That's what mind reading does. I think you all know that really we should get in a lot of revenues and incomes from the rental space in our minds. All or nothing, feeling like a failure because you made a small mistake on a project. Overgeneralization, assuming all meetings will be terrible because one went poorly. Which is the thinking trap that you are struggling with now? Feel free to note it down. Which is the trap that you need to do something about? I love the introductions going on all the way from Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, the US, Malawi. Wonderful. Really happy to have all of you. Ask yourself, from a thinking perspective, what are the traps that are holding you back? Catastrophizing, personalization, discounting the positive, mind reading, all or nothing, overgeneralization. Which ones? And I encourage you to reflect this evening, tomorrow, on how to start working on this. We're going to talk about imposter syndrome in a moment. Naomi, I see you. Queen bee syndrome, another thing that holds back women in leadership. You've worked so hard to get to the top. You're now head of a big department. You're a strategic leader. You are CEO. You're a director on a board. You're a general manager. Oh my goodness, it was so hard. These people can't have it easy. That's the attitude of a queen bee. The queen bee syndrome refers to women in authority or power who treat subordinate females worse than males purely because of their gender. The theory has a lot of academic support, and I remember studying it when I was studying my doctorate, and was first documented by T. Jayaranse, C. Tavris, and G.L. Staines in 1973. Many of us may not have been born by then. The queen bee syndrome, when I studied it, comes from insecurity. Insecurity that these females who are younger than you, or maybe older, but they report into you, are going to outshine you. One of the ways to overcome queen bee syndrome is to figure out your signature power. Why were you recruited? Because you have a signature power that actually contributes to the strategic solution of the work you're doing. Another thing to think about when it comes to the queen bee syndrome is that your job is for a term limit. It is not for eternity. And actually, the real test of a leader is shown by how they raise others. So as opposed to treating subordinate females worse than males, don't treat any of them worse. Give them an opportunity to shine, because when they shine, as a matter of fact, you shine, because you've coached them, you've given them the responsibility. But that requires what we call magnanimity. Another syndrome is the poppy seed syndrome. And this is a very interesting one because this tallest poppy syndrome has to do with the fact that people who undermine you could be both male, they could also be female.
Hello?
The statistics there is 27.6% are male who undermine women. Unfortunately, 31%, is someone asking for something? Please mute. 31% could also and then both, a combination of being undermined by both men or women, 41.2%. This tallest poppy syndrome has everything to do with the fact that you're good at what you do. And unfortunately, because of microaggressions and different comments and treatments, you feel undermined by others at work. Being cut down or undermined makes you lose trust. It also makes you lose engagement. You start thinking of a new job and you experience imposter syndrome, which I'm going to share in a few minutes. Actually, the statistics show us that 70%, 69.5% of respondents agreed that being cut down or undermined impacted their productivity. And so this whole idea impacts on our esteem, self-confidence. You downplay, you don't share achievements, and you have negative self-talk. That talk that you have within you. Why does the tallest poppy syndrome happen? Because of jealousy and sexism as the top drivers. So be careful when you feel envy, when you feel jealousy. It's a human reaction, but what you do with it is what matters. Gender stereotypes, women managers are bad. That's not true. I have had an excellent experience, but maybe you've been traumatized by a female manager who has not treated you well. Don't generalize that one experience or two experiences cuts across for everyone, because then you're a manager. And unfortunately, those gender stereotypes in our subconscious have a very big impact. And lastly, lack of confidence. So if 87.3% of us here have felt undermined and our achievements are undermined, then it means that the tallest poppy syndrome is a big thing. And what do you need to do? I'll be telling you in a minute. Imposter syndrome is an interesting one for us to think about, because imposter syndrome tells you you don't belong where it is that you are. But I want to encourage you that I have found, and maybe my next book I'll talk about that imposter syndrome for me is a friend. When I feel imposter syndrome, it is because I'm on the verge of doing something that's big, that's going to grow me, that's uncomfortable, that is going to solve a problem, that's going to serve other people in a way that I haven't done before. See? So what if the next time you're asked to join a panel, to raise your hand for a board role, to coach a team of leaders in your room, in your office, in the boardroom, to present to the board, and you feel like imposter syndrome? Please remember what I told you. Imposter syndrome, I even have a name. I say imposter syndrome, I'll not tell you the name, but you can call yours a name. I see you, you're not going to mute me. I know you're here to help me improve, strengthen, but you're not going to paralyze me. And I can tell if imposter syndrome is happening, I'm on the verge of something incredible. Ladies, and I know a few gentlemen have joined us, imposter syndrome can be your friend. Imposter syndrome is an indicator that you're growing. If you lie in bed and snooze all day long, you will never feel imposter syndrome. So the fact that you're feeling it means you're on the verge of doing something incredible. Traps. So we said navigating traps, but I want to reframe your mind and to think about traps in a very different way. As I was reflecting and praying and researching and meditating about what I'd like to share with 250 of you currently and many others on our YouTube channel, which I hope you've subscribed to. If you haven't, it's about time after this, right? Is that traps can actually hold you back from growing. They can hold you back from getting to the top, and they can hold you back from really seeing the reality of who you can become. I'm reminded of one BMC leader who, when she was applying, because you must apply with an essay, like the Ivy League schools, and I asked her, what is it that's making you come into this leadership circle? It's a mastery leadership circle. In other words, our goal is to help you master leadership purposefully, intentionally, and with impact. And she said, you know what, Dr. Pat, I'm not very sure. I have been chief executive. I am serving on boards, but I feel a little lost. I'm not sure about whether I'm on the right track. And that's why I'm coming for this leadership circle. I understand you'll be coaching me. I understand I'm going to get into a group of people who are like-minded, trying to rise. I feel trapped, but I hope that this leadership mastery circle is going to make the difference. So I want to introduce to you the acronym TRAPS. when you're getting to the next level, when you're about whatever the next level means to you. Next level could mean a lateral move. Next level could mean moving to a smaller organization, but a more senior role. Next level could mean expanding your territories across functions and geography. I don't know what next we're getting to the top looks like, but I want you to think about it from the angle of next move. What is your next? You've done it, you've conquered it, you've achieved a lot. What does your next actually look like? So let's unpack the word traps. T, tribe. When you're getting to the top, many women forget their tribe. They create a new tribe at the top, which by the way tends to be very transactional, and they forget the real friends, the ones who would tell them, by the way, Dr. Pat, that you need to stop. They forget that they are friends who love them, who like them, stripped of the title. I'm reminded of one leader who, during a retrenchment, was let to go. Before the retrenchment, her phone would ring countless times. We were meeting for a coffee. She would have to even put it away in her bag. She even had 3 phones because there was one for security. It was a big job. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, as I'll tell you the story later, she actually ended up being asked to go. It was heartbreaking. I remember she called me. I went to see her and she says, Dr. Pat, you know, you coached me about thinking about the next, but I never paid attention. Dr. Pat, I thought all the phone calls that are coming to my line were people who liked me. Do you know my phone has not rang this morning since the announcement was made? Figure out your tribe. One trap is not knowing your tribe. And what does tribe mean? It doesn't mean Baganda, Kikuyu, Luo. No, that's not what I'm referring to. Your tribe is those people who love you, like you, stripped of your titles. You don't need to have many. 2, 3, 4 is wonderful. You can see them when you're your most vulnerable. And you don't forget them as you get to the top. And remember them on your way down. No. Find your tribe, because many times the first trap is you lose direction on who your tribe is. Later on, she realized that she had gotten her own identity intertwined with the title. And that's what happens when you don't have your tribe. You forget that this is just a role, and it's a role for X number of years, X number of months. It is not your entire identity. And that's the piece that gets us confused, because we get so caught up in the deadlines and the targets and the growing other people that we forget that our tribe is part and parcel of who we are. Find your tribe, my dear sisters and brothers. Find your tribe. Invest in your tribe. Make time for your tribe, no matter how hectic your role is as you get to the top and as you're at the top. Rituals. Another trap that gets to many leaders as they're getting to the top. You forget the rituals that you had for your self-care. If you used to go for mass daily, you kind of abandon that. If you used to pray with your family, you're getting home late after the family has slept. And I've been in those spaces where you're trying to catch up with your family. But what I have found over my 22 decades plus of leadership experience, you must have some rituals that are non-negotiable. Because the minute you lose your rituals, and the rituals are those habits, those practices that keep you going as a human being. If cleaning my bedroom, which was one of the things I take pride in, was a critical ritual for me, and it's one of the things I do, it is hard. I don't enjoy it all the time, but it's an act of service for myself and my spouse. Then my ritual is to figure out, how can I do this faster if the time is less, using technology? I remember in the US, when I went for my doctorate, there is this vacuum. From the office, I can turn it on and it starts cleaning the floor, polishing the floor, dusting, so that I am saving time. We spend time on money and clothes, but it's time to also spend time and money on rituals and systems that will help our rituals move forward. Please mute. Rituals have to do with 4 areas. your private life, your private life, the things you do only for yourself. On a day like today, on a week like this, when I'm speaking every day, I have to ring fence my spiritual rituals, my physical rituals. I have to ring fence my intellectual rituals. That book I need to read 10 minutes a day. Let me try and get on it. Maybe this week I'm going to listen to it instead of reading because my time is so stretched. When you're going through a high crisis season, high pressure season, or an intensive season, bring forward your rituals. Seek some help. Rituals on the private, rituals on the personal. That has to do with your friends, your family, people who are close to you. What are the rituals you have to stay connected, even when your life is so intense? Intensely productive, I hope, not just intensely. So a week like this, one of the things I told my spouse and our children is this week I'm going to be kind of a roomer in the evening because I have a number of sessions in the evenings, and evening time is our family time. So it's to try and get home early, have a quick chat, but maybe I can't do as much as I could have done next week or last week. Be realistic. There are seasons which are intense and there are seasons that you have the latitude. But personally, rituals that have to do with your family and your personal relationships are also important. Remember, you're going inside out. Professional, rituals that have to do with your work. Let it be that your work ethic is so high that when you look at a document, no one else needs to look at it because you have a spirit of excellence. Those are rituals, ways of doing things. And in the public space, let not getting to the top get to your head. I'm reminded of someone who was telling me as she came into the Breakthrough Mastery Circle, and she was telling me, Dr. Pat, I realized things were getting out of hand. When the other day I went somewhere and this lady asked me, and who are you? She was a very public figure. And who are you? And I felt angry. How does she not know me? And then I knew my rituals are going out of hand. What happened to humility? Why should she know me? Red flags should be up in your mind and your heart when your rituals are getting out of work. Rituals. They're saying T, find your tribe. R, invest in your rituals. A, attitude. One of the biggest things I have found when people get into the top is something called intellectual arrogance. Ouch. Intellectual arrogance, you know it. An attitude actually reflects leadership. The kind of leadership you're talking about here is transformational leadership, very connected to servant leadership. So ask yourself, what kind of attitude do you have if you are senior and you're corrected by someone who's junior? What kind of attitude do you have when a new idea that's better than yours comes up? Do you celebrate it? Or do you actually feel, no, this is not right. I'm the expert here. No, you're not. You're not the expert. Because in the world of work now, our role as a leader, if you're chief executive, I hear a baby. Welcome to the baby. Please mute though. The role of a leader in the here and now is for us to clear the barriers and blockages that prevent your team from shining, from rising, from excelling, and from serving the purpose of the organization and their personal purpose. That's your role. It's not to outshine them in terms of ideas. It's to actually go into the balcony. I love music and I love watching classic music. And when I look at the whole orchestra and the conductor has his face and back towards people, isn't it? And as the conductor has his back towards people, he's focusing on his team. But he's focusing on his team, not as a singer, not as a pianist, but with some distance, so as to see how each member of every instrument, each voice, I love to sing. I was in a choir many years ago. I need to go back, right, when the season opens up. That each singer can actually sing in the best way for their voice. I was in Kampala the other day, so I shout out to my Kampala sisters. I'm wearing pearls because I wanted to also honor the Pearl of Africa. And it was just 2 Sundays ago, and I happened to go for Mass at Christ the King. The singing was incredible. If you ever go to Uganda, Kampala, I encourage you, pop in. And the mass was just 1 hour. But for me, it's a kind of practice and the attitude they had. Even their posture was a posture of learning, the posture of singing. And they say when you sing, you pray twice. What is your attitude when it comes to corrections, feedback, new ideas, or totally being blind spotted? What is your attitude? Ask yourself, because attitude is interesting. There are 4 attitudes of great leaders. 1, compassion. Do you treat every person as a person of value, no matter what work they do? As a matter of fact, the work that they do does not determine the value they have. It is the amount of love they put into their work. Persistence. Do you work hard and believe that no task is too small? You can move chairs. I remember one Breakthrough Mastery Circle graduation. Whew, that was tough. The person who was supposed to assist me fell sick, and we had the graduation the following day. I still remember, and I see some of you in the room today, I still remember how everyone pulled together and said, Dr. Pat, it's our graduation. We've been with you for 6 months. What I want to do, I remember several of them came to me and said, we have to help you. What do you need? 2 of them, Breakthrough Mastery Circle leaders. Purity and Rispa, shout out to you, gave me your PAs. You said, we're giving you your PA, our PAs for the day. We are entrepreneurs. We know what it takes to get through something like this. Our PAs are released from our work. They will be your PAs for that day. And it was a big graduation. About 20 of them were graduating. I remember Vivian and Tina and Dr. Ida pulling together, and Vera, and saying, let's run this segment of the class as you treat her, find treatment for her. That is what it means, that no task is too small. That they were there as paying students, paying learners, but they chose to actually get involved to solve the crisis. I want to honor each of you from that particular class, because I remember the graduation was something else. It was incredible, but it was because of the belief that no task is too small and that all of us can come together. Belief, knowing that great accomplishments and new ideas can be achieved. I see Judith there, and I want to encourage all of you. Where is your belief dwindling? Because life has beaten you hard. There's a year where I felt the year was 5 years rolled in one. It was a tough year. And when I examined myself, my attitude, I realized my belief was going down. So I want to encourage you, check your beliefs. That has a direct correlation with your attitude. Joyfulness, be positive and bring happiness to others. Joyfulness is not just happiness. It is the ability to be calm, peaceful, and actually see that no matter how hard things are, this is part of a grander plan, and there's still something to be grateful for. 4 attitudes to think about that can help you go so far. P, purpose. In a few minutes, I'll be opening it up to comments, questions, because this is a fireside chat. But the P in the traps is purpose. Now, many of us confuse our station in life for our purpose. Don't confuse it. Your station in life is the work you're doing now. If purpose is part of it, you're very lucky. But purpose is your ability to use your gifts and talents to solve a problem and to serve others. This lady is at a bus stop, a station. Each of us, wherever we are in our lives currently, we are in a station. And so the question I want to ask you is, what are you doing in that station to ensure that you actually are living your purpose? What are you doing? I want to encourage you to think about purpose as this. Your purpose of life is to discover your gift. And your gift is to solve a problem that pains you. In my book, Rise, we talk about the intersection of passion and pain. That's where your purpose is. The work of life is to develop it. Your work of life is not to work hard and pay your mortgage and pay school fees. No. A work of life is to develop that gift. And the meaning of life is to give your gift away. David Viscott. So part of this Breakthrough Mastery Circle is to help each one of the women actually figure out what their purpose is, do a personal and a corporate or job strategy, and figure out how the purpose has a multi-generational impact. P. S, strategic. And the S stands for a number of things. Study. Many leaders stop studying the minute they get to the top. They're like, I know it, but actually you don't. So the way to actually invest in studying is to get into programs, to read books, to listen to podcasts, and to raise your strategic leadership competencies. Strategic thinking, that's the ability to be comfortable with ambiguity and complexity, and to find ways to interplay. Strategic acting aligns structures, systems with the decisions of enterprise strategy. Strategic influencing, build coalitions, motivate, influence, and lead by example. Those people always ask me, how do you become a strategic leader? These are the three pillars. Think strategically, act strategically, and influence strategically. But you're not going to do that in a vacuum. You need to surround yourself with people, personal board of directors, which comes in the tribe. I remember in the Breakthrough Mastery Circle 2021, there was one personal board of directors where one of the ladies was very strong in strategic thinking. And we pair them up with 3-4 other ladies to come up with projects that each of them will challenge each other so that the projects are much better, much stronger. And I remember this particular leader would tell them as each of them presented, you're playing too small. Are those Kenya shillings or USD? Where are you playing small? And all of a sudden, there was an elevation in thinking. Look around and see if the people you surround yourself with only look at you to give them ideas. I think you need to really step up on your network. If you're living in a neighborhood where you're the smartest person, or at work you're the smartest person, you need to look for avenues to find smarter people, more strategic people to help you rise. Think strategically, act strategically, and influence strategically. Ladies and gentlemen, the goal and the role and the movement to the top is to challenge you. But most of us are not able to challenge ourselves because the traps get in the way. But remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it will change you. So I know a number of you wrote to us already and asked, this Breakthrough Mastery Circle, when does it start? Let me share a little bit about what it's about in terms of the details. We have 3 modules in person. This is mainly our only open in-person program, because these are women who want to strategically network, find their purpose, and be in a network and a personal board for a period of time. So in April, we'll have the first module, Lead Yourself Intentionally. In June, Leading During Turbulence and Complexity and Managing Multiple Stakeholders. This is a big one, but you have to lead yourself first. Develop your vision, develop the corporate idea that you have in the first module to then manage how to navigate turbulence. And then the last one, Reposition for Impact at the next level. In between this, you have a coaching session one-on-one personally with me, which is valued at $800, but we put it in as a complimentary service. We have different faculty. I've designed the program, but we have different faculty looking at emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, negotiation for the next level, as well as an image stylist, skin assessor, so that you not only work on your inside, but you also dress for that next level that you're moving to. I'm fascinated when I see a lot of those women from Breakthrough Mastery Circle getting their wardrobes and sending them to Clean Start, a board that I serve for women who have been incarcerated and are leaving prison and reintegrating and receiving these immaculate dresses, shoes to start their life again. And why not? So this idea of reposition for impact also ends with a photo shoot. So the next time I'm calling any of my alumni to tell them there's a speaking position for them, they're not looking for a photo or using photos of 10 years ago. I remember the other day, I looked at a photo from someone else, not our alumni. And I'm like, is it her? It cannot be her. Are you sure it's her? Or she gave us someone else's photo. We don't want you to be trapped in those kind of spaces. And so you're welcoming any leader who feels it is time to overcome their traps and actually invest in the true meaning that I shared today of traps. Your tribe, your rituals, your attitude, your purpose, your strategy, and your skills and studying ability through the season. So how much is it? We have a great offer, $2,356 until the 1st of April if you pay at once, but we also have payment plans for those who would like to have a payment plan. Ladies, start late, start over, start scared, start again, but just start. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, because just starting is all you're asked to do. My prayer for each and every one of you who've shared your time and attention this evening before we open it up to questions and comments is to rise way beyond your dreams, break through your cage. They say if you have a tribe or circle of friends who always put you down, it's a cage, not a circle. May you break through that cage. May you break through the past. May you break through the trauma and the stereotypes and the biases that may have affected you to get this far. But may you also rise. And as you rise, may you lift others, because becoming your next best self is no easy task, but it's important for you to invest in it, because no one can do that work for you except yourself. Without further ado, these are some of my books and journals, and I welcome questions, comments, anything that you'd like to know about what I've shared today, so that then I can appreciate where you're at and what it is that we can do to help you continue to grow. Thank you very much for your attention. 264 of you, I honor all of you, and I welcome your comments in the chat, or you can just put up your hand and we will unmute you. And in the chat, you can say what stood out for you. And in the questions or comments, feel free, chat or speak. You're very welcome. So usually there's this silence for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden, everyone's hand goes up. Wanjiru Kamotho, Kenya, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Pat, and that was very eye-opening. I have loved the session. My question is, how do you know when it is time to make your next move? So just for context, I'm new to a role, and from the look of things, I know that this should not be more than I should not stay in this role for more than 2 years. But then when do I know that it is actually time to move and make my next step?
Such a good question. I'm reminded of many years ago, I knew I was in the wrong job before I was confirmed. I knew I was in the wrong job in orientation. Can you imagine that? But I spoke to a mentor, and the mentor told me, this role is going to grow you. Hang in there. Well, I hung in there for 5 years. But when I look back, it was 5 tough years, but it was so incredible what those 5 years did for me. So you need to check a couple of things before you jump. First thing, check your well-being, your conscience. Are you in an environment which is ethically opposed to your conscience? It's doing things that are immoral, unethical, then you need to do something about it. Because the minute it starts staining your soul, then you're not even going to be able to be productive. Check also, how safe are you in that space? How safe? Is it the kind of work that exposes you in ways that your personal safety, your family's safety is now at risk? Thirdly, ask yourself, even if it's very difficult now, are there some lessons that you have to learn during this season? And so immerse yourself in those lessons as opposed to the pain. But I must say, to be able to do this, you need a personal board of directors, which is something we talk about in our Breakthrough Mastery Circle, where you need to actually find a cluster of 2, 3, 4 people who will be honest enough to tell you that it's time to move, it's time to think about this, consider this, because these journeys cannot be lived alone. So I hope that that helps you. I have found journaling, praying, meditation, reflecting, and then finding ways to reflect on what you've written over the last couple of weeks actually helps you get a much clearer idea for you to make the decision. At the end of it all, when you weigh all these factors are brought up, the decision ultimately is yours. So I can't really give you the decision, but at least I can show you the signposts on how to get to the decision, Wanjiru. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Kate, our riser, welcome, followed by Lydia.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. Good evening, everyone. I was intrigued by what you talk about the traps, more to do with purpose, because when you ask anyone, what's your purpose in life, you'll get different answers, and that can be exacerbated by different scenarios that are happening in life. So what stood out is like, my purpose of life is to discover my gift. So when you match or you rhyme purpose and gift, then it brings something very different that actually makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Use your gifts to solve someone's problem, and you're already in purpose. And sometimes we're in purpose without realizing that we're in a purpose zone. I suggest the way to do it is to start using that gift wherever you are. Thank you so very much. Lydia, you're next.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I am in the process of transitions because we had to dissolve the company that we started a year ago, and much of what you've spoken is already happening. But I feel a bit stuck because when you were talking about you finding your own people, the person or my business partner was the person I could relate with intellectually, spiritually, on those kinds of levels. So she's moved on to a different town and I'm left behind and I can't find my circle. So I'm having a very difficult time to fit in the people that I associated with just because of the business are not at par where I am at intellectually without putting them down. So I feel like I don't want to follow my partner because they have moved. That dream is done. But what do I do now? That's how I'm feeling.
So first of all, Lydia, receive a warm hug from me. Receive a warm hug. Thank you for being vulnerable. When we go through what is called a life-defining season, which is what you went through as that business closed, and it takes a lot of courage to start a business, even more courage to close a business because the season is over. It also means you have grown in ways that you probably don't even realize. You've outgrown spaces, people, and that's why you have that angst, that disconcerted feeling. But what I want to encourage you is that your tribe is somewhere. Perhaps one of the things you need to consider doing is get yourself into networks that will help you grow. And the networks will introduce new people. And especially if it's a network of like-minded people in the direction you'd like, whether it's to elevate, to grow, you'll find that you'll find your people. They say the people we need are just two phone calls away, 6 degrees sometimes. But what I want to encourage you, it means you need to take courage, because when you've gone through something like that, you feel a bit defeated and deflated. Take the courage and seek programs and networks that will make a world of a difference for you by opening you up into networks that you didn't have any access to before, and therein you will find your new tribe. I must say that tribes change over the seasons, but some tribe members remain throughout. The question is just determining who is where. So Lydia, I hope that helped.
Thank you very much. That's a gem. Thank you.
Welcome. Phoebe Gitao, this is your moment, followed by Dr. Emma, then followed by Jerry.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia, and I apologize already for the background noise. I happen to be in a venue where I've stepped out for this meeting. But I just want to, first of all, thank you. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, Dr. Patricia. There's always learning. But I particularly wanted to comment on the BMC because maybe my comments might help somebody. When I left, I was in the corporate world for quite some time. And when I left, as the years went on after I left, I noticed a creeping in of not being totally sure of myself. I may not have shown it on the outside, but on the inside, there was a bit of a creeping in of not being sure of myself. And it manifested itself with indecisiveness on what I wanted to do. And then I came to BMC. What BMC did for me is that it focused me on myself. And I had meant to also put on my video, sorry, where I am. It focused me on myself and I became sure of myself. And I started enjoying who I am because I understood myself better and I understood what I stood for. Because I think there was an aspect of perhaps wanting to please everybody around me and not knowing myself. So BMC really did a wonderful job of focusing on me such that I now enjoy being who I am. And I believe I add value to the people I interact with, my family and whatever else I'm doing, because I am more sure of myself and I know what to do. And I now know the priorities in my life. And so that's what that did for me. So I just wanted to speak up in case there's somebody who's stuck and they don't know what next to do, or they're not even sure what to do. I hope that testimony will encourage them. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Phoebe. I still remember you coming into the Breakthrough Mastery Circle and elevating the conversation phenomenally, just by virtue of being in the room. So sometimes we don't realize how your presence, each of us, can change the light that happens in a space. And I want to welcome Jerry, then Dr. Emma, then Pamela. Jerry, are you ready? Okay, we'll give her a moment. We'll call Dr. Emma as Jerry prepares. Dr. Emma, welcome. Another BMC alumni. Wow.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I like a dream. When I know I'm gonna listen to you the next day, it's like a dream, like going to US. So I look.
Dr. Emma, thank you. And you are so knowledgeable, so humbling. I appreciate that.
I really always look forward to listening to you. The way every time you speak, you just like really touch the core nerve of my heart and my brain. So I thank you so much for this session. The lessons that have come out of TRAP, they're critical, they are touching, and the way you talked about the issue of tribe and how you live this yourself. You might not remember, but there's a time when you're in turbulence, and this time when this drama is happening at my place of work, and I remember the first person who called me, you called me, friend, Emma, how are you doing? Like, when you talked about tribes, it's like, wow, this is what Dr. Parashi is talking about. It was so calming, it was so comforting. And I want just to encourage people, all this that has been said is so critical, but joining the Breakthrough family is such an anchor to actually women leaders, especially if you're aspiring to take up higher roles. And I'm so proud that I encourage some of my colleagues at work, and I've seen them online. So I really encourage us, especially like women, we seem to go through more turbulence than our male counterparts. So it is an anchor. It is something that you really need when you're struggling with balancing how to rise, and our male counterparts mostly sometimes looking like they're having it easy, and you have to balance your 5 children, 4 children, and in-laws and other things. I think we need this kind of a base to really hold us, so that every time we are reminded, if you stay alone, if we stay without this as part of what we talked about as a tribe, to help us rise through what we aspire to be, getting through your goals becomes very difficult. So I want to just comment that from the time I joined a Breakthrough, and Dr. Patricia taught us how to really enforce the drawing of goals, vision, and vision boards, the balancing of what you talked about, the rituals. It has really been transformational. I've not gotten off that ritual. So it has been holding me and keeping me. Whenever time there is difficulty, I've actually gone back, Patricia, to what you taught us from, in 2019. And it has been what has taken me through a lot of turbulence, actually. And it's been a lot of turbulence. So I can say a lot, but I just want to encourage the people on this call. If you have not thought, please, tonight, just think about it and reach out to Dr. Patricia. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emma. I remember some of your goals and they have come to pass. I appreciate that testimony, and I look forward to seeing you rising even further. Thank you, Dr. Emma. Jerry, it's okay. I see your video had a problem. If you'd like to comment or ask a question.
Okay, thank you, Doc. I'm really impressed about the whole training, what it involves. Actually, for me to have joined, I was just joining because I was curious to know what is this women at the top. And I guess I got my answer already. So thank you so much. Now my question is, how do you, as a lady, as a woman who is aspiring to go to the top, navigate when you have a very toxic, okay, no, let me use your word. When you have a queen bee at the top of you, because sometimes you find it is time to move. You feel with every bone of you, it is time to move, but there is a queen bee. She will not let you do anything. She will not let you even go present in a board meeting or in any meeting. Everything has to be about her. How do you navigate this? And then also the question of tribes. I must admit, I also find it a challenge because I've been hurt two times, so I'm not very trusting. So how do you deal with these tribes? How do you get to know this is my tribe? These are here to stay. Yeah, thank you.
That's a great 2 questions that I'm going to try and answer very quickly. I recognize we are 2 minutes past time. If you'll indulge us with a few more minutes, those who are about to speak, we'll keep it short and sweet. Let me answer very quickly, Jerry. 2 things. Queen bee. When there's a queen bee, sometimes they don't even realize they're being queen bees. So one of the things we actually coach in the Breakthrough Mastery Circle is how to have a courageous conversation, which is respectful, which talks about the facts, the effect, what it is that you need to be aware of and she needs to be aware of, and the remedy. Of course, I'll know that when it's that kind of precarious situation, you might want to proceed with caution. But remember that a leader, no matter how senior they are, is still a human being. And if respectfully you can say, I'd love to contribute more to this team, and I'm thinking of ways, and these are some areas that I'm thinking of, what do you think? That could also open up an opportunity. It requires courage, but I say if you don't have courage to do some of the tough things, you won't have then the benefit of enjoying the fruits of your courage. So try that. And if push comes to shove and maybe that queen bee behavior is now bordering on workplace bullying, there's something called executive bullying, which we actually talk about in the Breakthrough Mastery Circle, that you can get senior, but somehow you still don't have a voice. Then I encourage you, you might want to then talk to a mentor or a trusted HR person to give you some advice on how to move forward. On trust, I have been hurt many times, but I say the amount of joy I've gotten before I got hurt was worth trying again with someone else, but this time in a wiser way. So one of the things I encourage us to think about, don't just be nice, ladies, be wise. Be wise. And by being wise, don't color red flags into white or pink. It's a red flag, you're feeling it, listen to that inner voice. But don't also put yourself in a cage or a cocoon because you've been hurt. Try and forgive yourself and forgive the other person. And that will release a lot of energy for you to make friends with other people. Jerry, I wish you the best. You have a lot to give, a lot to offer other people. Try and take the steps and see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pamela from Uganda, you'd put up your hand earlier, followed by Wangui, and lastly, Affection. Oh, there's also Judy.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Pat. I'm always excited to hear from you. And like you said, I'm one of those who did the BMC 2023, and I have not been left the same. Maybe to speak to Jerry first is to say that, women generally thrive in sisterhoods, and it's important that you actually set boundaries to govern the relationships. So boundary setting is really critical. Just talking a little bit to the people who are on the fence, who need to cross over to the other side. I'll just say that BMC for me was a game changer. My 2023 word for the year was visibility, and I was looking to get myself more visible out there so that I can be able to offer the world whatever it is that I had. And when I did BMC, I actually became visible to myself in terms of what my strengths were and what I was able to do. Ever since I've been in a role, literally been on a roll. I have written and published 3 books since, written an experience. I'm much more, I don't have that self-doubt as much as I did before I did BMC. But most exciting, I got to meet a tribe of women that were really getting to know the ladies that I met last year, all the way from Uganda to Kenya, was such a lovely experience. One of them is Esther Ndivo, and she's right here. She's one of my personal board members, and they have prayed with me. They have encouraged me. They have been there, even as I've been, putting everything together, projects together. So I would say BMC is the way to go. If you're sitting on the fence, kindly do jump in. Thank you very much, Dr. Pat.
Thank you, Pamela, all the way from Uganda. It was wonderful being with you for the Evolving Woman event 2 Saturdays ago. I have seen your growth. So proud of you. Wangui?
Always a pleasure.
Thank you,
Dr. Modani Morugami. I've been with you for years, decades, and what I really honor God for is that you're ever fresh. I'd never say that I have learned and enriched and I won't go back to class again. And the beauty of your courses, Patricia, is that they don't just apply to me as an individual, as a professional. They also apply to me as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter. And now that I've been blessed and the journey of my children, now you knew me when they were toddlers, now they are teens. So it's been that kind of a journey. How I desire that I'll transition them to your hands as they become early risers, so that this generational breakthrough and transformation really continues to be global, and you really live to your brand. You catalyze the world. So I really do thank you. This for me was a thank you, and also to confirm that I'm a BMC 21. I'm everything that you've done. I'm your next best self, ever present student. So for the teams who are here, who I have invited, their goals, their affirmation from me, and you've seen the journey I have taken, and I'm not stopping at it. God bless you. God bless all the leaders herein. Thanks.
Oh, Eva Wangui, thank you so much for such a heartfelt. What a blessing to be trusted even with children. I look forward to them joining Early Risers and any other program. Thank you, Wangui. Affection, and lastly, Judith. Affection, I love your name.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pat. This is my first time I'm hearing about you. I don't know where I've been, shame on me, but this has been so amazing. And thank you for taking time to make yourself look beautiful for us. Your makeup is just on point. Like the young people say, you're slaying. So that aside,
okay,
I feel stuck. You're welcome. I feel stuck. I've been in the same company. I'm making 19 years in May. I made it to a managerial position, which I've held now for over 10 years. We have a very flat structure. So I'm a manager, and then I'm reporting to general manager. In some sections, there's a senior manager position. Ideally, what I do, I feel I should be promoted to a senior manager position, but that senior manager position has never existed for my role. And because I've been in the same role for so long, it's even hard to cross elsewhere, because now I am seen as that person. Even when I apply for other senior manager roles in the same company, I'm not shortlisted, because now I am seen in that space. And also I've tried outside other companies, and usually they're more curious in the interviews as why I would leave such a company that I've worked for so many years, that many people are dying to get into. So I'm stuck, really. I don't know how to get out of this.
Affection, receive my hug, and I want to tell you that you can reinvent yourself. Two things I'll encourage you to do between now and the next couple of days is write down the new problems you want to solve, because you've been solving such problems for 19 years. Don't think about organizations. Think of the problems you're interested in solving and how your expertise lends you to be the right person to serve and solve those problems. Secondly, think about reinventing even how you think. When people tell you, people have left jobs of 30 years and they get into new roles because of how they answer those questions. Think about those questions that they ask you that trigger you in a way that you are not able to respond. For example, why are you leaving that company? Because I'm ready for a new challenge, and I've noticed in your organization, you have this area that publicly is an area that you're trying to grow. And my expertise can help you move the needle in that space. That's, for example, find a coach, find a program, find whatever you need so that you can be able to move forward. But reinventing yourself, you're never too late to invent yourself. The time to invent yourself is when you feel that itch. And I think that time is now. Affection,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I look forward to having you in one of our programs. We're coming to Uganda for our Next Best Self conference later in the year. But before that, let's see whether we can help you truly find yourself, invent yourself.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate, and I'm definitely going to follow you from today.
You're most welcome. Please give your contacts in the chat or get in touch with our team, and we'll see how to help you move forward. Our final comment. You're welcome, Affection. Our final comment is from Judith, also my sister from Uganda. Surely I'm Ugandan, isn't it? Partly Ugandan, partly Kenyan, partly global. Judith, you're the last to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. Karibu. Thank you. You are indeed very Ugandan. Mine is really to thank you. You are indeed my sister. We have walked a very long journey. What I wanted to say to the people here, those that have attended the course, those that are on the fence, those that have met you for the first time today, like Affection, it's not shame on you, Affection. It is okay. You always start where you are. And like somebody else said, Dr. Patricia is fresh. It's okay, whichever point you meet her at, you will meet her and you will feel like you're the only one meeting her, even when you're 600 people in the chat room. So you will be fine. I just wanted to say a few things, but I realized that we are out of time and the past speakers have touched some of the things I wanted to say, Pamela and a few other ladies. But what I wanted to say is that Dr. Patricia has worked with me and I've not been able even to pick myself up and go into the classes. But when you work with her, she's loyal to a fault. So even when you feel like, but she has tried this, tried that, tried the other, and I'm still sort of struggling, she will still find a way of working with you this journey. So whoever is able to pick her up, to work with her, that is something I can testify to. The other thing is some of us as ladies, when we hit the rock bottom, we all don't get up at the same time because down there we meet different things we need to work on. So she's not the silver bullet immediately, but if you practice, most of us enjoy attending the webinars and the classes. But I think where the rubber hits the tarmac is when we must get off our self-pity parties, our fears, our anxieties, and do. So when I had Pamela say, I got up and then I've published these books and then I've done these things, then I was thinking, I've known Dr. Patricia much, much longer than Pamela, and I've known Pamela and I've seen her journey. And she has also tried to encourage me. So I was thinking, so what's going on with you, Jay? So every time you were talking, I was thinking, what's wrong with you? But then all the answers came back. I knew that maybe sometimes there are things that are still holding you. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's a few other things. The point is, keep showing up. When your turn comes, hey, be waiting for me. Thank you, Dr. Patricia. And God bless you always.
Thank you, Judith. A warm hug from me to you. You're rising even when you don't see it. Always remember that. Sometimes we're looking for big steps, but I believe tiny, tiny baby steps, like a baby learns to walk, is how they are finally able to run, ride bikes, and do everything else. So Judith, you are still rising, even if you may not feel that you are. Thank you for being here and for those wonderful closing comments. I want to thank all of you. May God help you rise. May you truly decide your traps and how to overcome them by choosing to build your traps the Breakthrough Mastery Circle way. And I'll give it back to Betty Dunge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. A round of applause for Dr. Patricia. You can share some reactions just to thank her for the wonderful session. And I'd like to thank also all of you leaders who have joined us this evening. We know you might have had other conflicting engagements, but you chose to just put your learning as a priority this evening. So we honor all of you for that. At this point, I'd like to call the meeting to an end and to wish all of you a wonderful evening. For those ones who wish to reach out to us to get to know more about our Breakthrough Mastery Circle, we've put our contacts on the chat. Reach out to us and we'll be more than glad to walk you through it. Have a good evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.